down to the levels that they are now, which is about 35% federally and 7% statewide. I think this is creating huge long-term structural problems with the funding of our communal life together, which is government. And I guess I wasn't around in the 70s, but I don't think it was all that bad back then. I don't think there was a lack of economic growth because of the higher tax rates. And I think it's important that we start moving back to levels that will be sufficient to fund the things that we need. And I don't think this is going to hurt the economy, because the best way to help working people is by helping working people. It's not by reducing taxes for the wealthiest among us, or who some people call the job creators. So I think it's really important we have a more progressive tax system and increase taxes on the wealthiest among us.
We need a budget that reflects our priorities, and it's just, we've gotten so far away from that. We rely too much on the sales tax, and our income tax is not progressive. We all know that the wealthy don't pay their fair share. And so we rely on sales tax and property taxes. And our property taxes are going up because sales taxes are going down. I mean, there's too much unmet need. Things are not getting funded. And then the sales tax can only go so far. And so when the city takes the sales tax to balance its budget and local governments have less aid, then they balance the budget is balanced on the back of property owners. And so we need to switch that. Right now there's plenty. I think it was it used to be 1/3 was on the property tax owners and 2/3 was on commercial, and then it got switched. 2/3 on the property owners, 1/3 on the. I'm a tax attorney. That's what I've done for 14 years. I have an advanced law degree in taxation. I designed tribal tax systems, and they have to be progressive. I know what a regressive tax system looks like. I can spot it a mile away, and it just doesn't work. It burdens people and makes people, they're upset, disillusioned, or with their government because they don't see the benefits of it. And when that happens, hopefully, it will mobilize people to get mad about it. And that was, one of the reasons why I wanted to run. Because I got tired of sitting around seeing all this happen. It made me angry. And I want to get in there and work really hard to get on the tax committee and find ways, whether it's services or resources, tourism, something. There's got to be a way to make our tax system more progressive.
Okay, there were a couple people who asked questions about this topic, which is to be able to have a build strength in the legislature, you're going to need more than the Minneapolis delegation. You need to build support within the suburbs, within greater Minnesota, for initiatives that are important to the city of Minneapolis or issues that you may be working on. So how do you propose that you are going to build connections and build support with your suburban and outstate legislators?
I think it starts with building coalitions. I mean, that's sort of a word we say. It's hard to do. It seems like it's clumsy, and we sit around in meetings, but it's really that's really the only way you can do it, with community organizations, with local groups that whether it's organic produce producers or farmers or labor unions or even churches or. We don't do a very good job, I think, of our message with rural communities, because we're losing that battle. I mean, our message is getting lost there, and we're not doing things to mobilize the electorate, the communities that don't vote. I mean, it's just extremely. But we think it's bad in the city. It's even worse in some of our rural communities. And so that's something that I will work really hard on a statewide level to bring people together, groups. I mean, that's what we do as in with representing tribal governments. Sometimes it's very hostile around where tribes live, but how we do is we build goodwill. We help. We make sure that we're that we're not burdening, because tribes don't pay property taxes, that we're not burdening the local government. So we do things like help build roads. Help with federal funds for educating Indian children. There's a way to do it where you're working in partnership with people, and that's something that I think that cooperation and that leading by example and by making sure our message is out there. Those are things that I think we need to work harder at doing that.
I love this question because this is exactly what respect is all about. I know I'm beginning to sound a little bit like Aretha Franklin with how many times I'm saying respect. But this is exactly the point of respect. We need to treat the people who disagree with me, I need to treat them with respect. That's how you work together. That's how you build relationships. I will invite legislators from greater Minnesota to come here to Turtlebred, to see this community, to go to the churches where gay members are welcome, to go to our schools where class sizes are over 30 students per class, and see what that's like, and so that they can see our concerns. And I will go visit them too. That's how you show respect, going to visit them, seeing their concerns. Now I know it sounds a bit idealistic that we'll have universal health care, that we'll have a demand-driven economy that respects workers, and that will fully fund our schools just by respecting some people. But I'm not scared to have a vision. I'm not scared to have a vision that by working with the people most different from me, from us, from we, that we can build a state where all people can go to the doctor when they need to, where all our children receive a high-quality education, where all people can find a job that treats them with dignity and respect and provides enough income for their families. This is exactly what respect is about. Respect is about working with people regardless of the political party label that they have stamped on their back, regardless of whether or not they agree with you. And there is strength in respect. There is strength in that message, and I will work hard every single day to make that happen. Build relationships with people. Go to communities that aren't my own and bring people here. That's what I believe we need in our state government. We need a state representative who respects all people.
Thank you both. We have had a few questions about ranked choice voting, so I'll ask kind of a couple layers of questions here. One is, do you have a position on whether you support or do not support ranked choice voting, which is being used in the city of Minneapolis for our local elections, and it was just used in St. Paul this past year for their local elections? And as a kind of sub-question to that, do you have any position on whether you would support or not support statewide legislation regarding ranked choice voting? One flavor of that could be to give permission to local governments who don't have their own charters to use ranked choice voting if they wish in their local elections. Second part of that could be allowing ranked choice voting to be used in state races. All right, and I think need a switch.
I'm a really big supporter of ranked choice voting and the work that Fair Vote is doing nationally and Fair Vote Minnesota is doing locally to promote this idea and this way of changing our democracy in a way I think will be much improved. What's unique about this race is that Regent, Susan and I have very similar positions on the issues, and we're the only two candidates running. I actually think it's unfortunate that there aren't more people running, that we don't have a Green Party candidate, that we don't have a Republican Party candidate, that we don't have an Independence Party candidate. Normally it'd be very difficult for a person like myself with progressive values to run in a race with another progressive because I would be worried about splitting the vote. That's not happening this time because it's just the two of us, which is a really fortunate situation. But in the future, for there to be a real dialogue and choice between really good candidates rather than a choice between, you know, a candidate that you think is really bad and a candidate that you think is really good, and then maybe some that are in between. Having ranked choice voting to allow people to choose and have a greater democratic discussion on values, I think, is really important. So I'm a huge supporter of ranked choice voting. I think it's going to happen. We're going to figure out how to do it effectively, efficiently. We've proven it in the past that it works, and it's coming. We just need to make sure that we keep getting this message out there so that everybody can be represented and everybody feel like they can vote who they want to without wasting their vote. That's really important.
I think ranked choice voting is a very positive movement, and I'm actually having a meeting right after this with the I forget what her name is, the Jeep Mason. So fair vote, yes. So if you talk to me after that, I'll be even much more informed about it. So, but you know, anything that gives voters choices. I mean, because we hear. You know, people that, you know, my vote doesn't matter, or you know, anything that's going to help people believe that their vote is their voice, and that the majority is going to prevail. And so I am in favor of that, and I don't like the, you know, making things on the state level mandatory and local, but giving, if we can facilitate that to make it easier for them to have that choice and to have that dialogue about it. And you know, it'll be a great time for talk about voter education, to an opportunity, and to get people registered to vote and get them excited about it and interested in it. So I'm looking forward to that discussion.
All right. We have a question about disparities in our state. As I think we've done several programs here, as part of my early mornings, about different issues involving racial disparities and other disparities in our state and for our city and our region. We are becoming known as a state that has the greatest disparities in all sorts of categories, employment being one that is being talked about a lot right now. And in fact, just this morning, our Minneapolis Civil Rights Department is hosting a short half-day conference on disparities. So I'm going to ask both of you, how does working to reduce disparities, racial disparities, fit into what you want to accomplish at the state legislature? And I think Susan will be first.
The reason I'm running again, to be a voice for those left out and to fight against discrimination. I talk about facing discrimination all my life, and how is it that you know, seeing inequality, living that every day. You know, my parents used to throw us into it. My father, his idea was he was going to end racism one person at a time in the state of South Dakota. And so he drug us around from a very young age. We would go to restaurants that were segregated. I mean, it was in the early 70s. You know, there was no longer the signs on the doors that said no dogs or Indians allowed. But it was just something that, you know, you just didn't go there if you were not white. So we would stand there in line at the restaurants. My father had health insurance through his job. We would go to the private hospital, and we practically have to have a media event in order to get health care, because they would say you need to go to the public health hospital down the street. And we would go to the Black Hills Encampment, all-white camping grounds. And my brother would say, he's going to get shot, he's going to get shot. And it's like, that was something, we did it because it wasn't confrontational. It wasn't divisive. It was my father said, we need to include people in our lives. Show them how we want to be treated. So that's my idea of, you know, racial disparity, is that my father kept telling me, we have just as much right to be here as everyone else. And we did that. We insisted that at every single day. When I got on the bus, when I got to school, I fought for an education. I fought for a better life. And that's something that I understand, that fight. and that living that inequality and how to overcome it, to face it head on. And that's what I want to help people do, to lead by example.
I had a meeting with James Burrows in the Office of Equity and Diversity at the Minneapolis Public Schools a couple weeks ago, and I left that meeting remembering a really important thing that he told me. And he said, "I'm only interested in talking about race if we're achieving results." And I think that's really important. We like to talk about the difficulty we have talking about race in our community because there's so much diversity. But really we need to talk about it so that we're achieving results. Because right now it is unacceptable that in our public schools only 20% of our African American students are graded as achieving in our math tests, and 70% of our white students are. Now that tells me two things. First thing it tells me, those tests are not good tests. The second thing that it tells me is that it's our problem too. It's not a black community problem. It's not a white community problem. It's all of our problem that we need to address. Now, I grew up in the Minneapolis Public Schools. I had a wonderful experience in that school system, but we need to address that issue so that all people, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their language, can achieve. I'd actually like to take this opportunity to invite you all to an event that I'm hosting in Sabathani on December 13th from 6 to 8 p.m. on this very topic, racial disparities, reducing the achievement and the employment gap. They are very related, of course. Education and employment go hand in hand. And it is also unacceptable that we have a 22% unemployment rate in the African American community in a city when the white rate of unemployment is about 6%. Something is wrong. We need to fix it. Now, I'm not an expert on these issues. I don't have all the answers. So I want to listen to the community, and I want to hear from people how we can solve this and highlight this issue and not be known as a state that has the highest difference between racial groups in terms of educational achievement and economic achievement.
All right, we are now at about 8:45, and I want to make sure that there's time for the candidates to kind of say some closing statements to you. So I'm going to ask a last question, and I really apologize if I did not get to your question. There are some that we didn't quite have time to get to. But this is a little bit, I think, a shorter question. You say that, but I don't think each candidate addressed it head-on in their opening statement, but you might have referenced it. The question is, what is your position on using public financing for a professional sports stadium? The questioner actually asked your position on the Twin Stadium, although I think most people are right now thinking about the Viking Stadium.
That was my question.
Yes.
And that is the question.
All right.
You can ask. The question is, what was your views on the Twin Stadium funding?
All right, Twin Stadium funding, which is
15%,
which is 0.15% Hennepin County sales tax funding. All right, and Nate. So to answer this question head on, you talk about the Twin Stadium,
Got it.
but then you can go on.
I like talking about the Twins a lot more than talking about the Vikings. Even though this year it wasn't that exciting to talk about the Twins either. I still do not think that it was a good idea to increase the tax burden on people of low incomes disproportionately to fund something that, although enjoyed by people of all economic levels, and sports is a beautiful thing that brings people of all different backgrounds together, and a really wonderful thing to have in our community. I don't think it's fair to have a regressive tax like a sales tax pay for it. I think I'm opposed to public financing of stadiums in that way because we don't get a good deal. It's great to have sports teams. It's great to have the Twins here in Minnesota. I'm a big Twins fan. But it's not worth it if we're preventing people from putting healthy food on the table for their families because of that increased sales tax. And it's not fair that we're charging people who make less money. Sales tax is one of the most regressive forms of tax out there. We need to figure out how to start paying for these things by asking the wealthiest among us to contribute more. We can do that respectfully. We can ask the wealthiest among us to make sure that we have a Viking stadium, a Twin stadium, and all these other wonderful amenities and luxuries that we have. But I do not support sales taxes to publicly financed stadiums because we don't get a good deal. And that's why I oppose them.
Well, first of all, I don't support public funding, any public dollars, whether it's taxes, bonding, or for the stadium, for billionaire owners. It's just, I can't justify it right now. I mean, given our economy and the unmet needs in our community, it's just not something, there's better ways to invest our tax dollars to help us improve the economy. The stadium, the Twin Stadium, I'm not an insider, so I understand that that was financed, it's financed through the sales tax. And some people argue that there's a clear public benefit, but I don't, maybe during the time when the economy was a little better, I don't know. But it's just something that public funds, if you look at any of the proposals, whether it's sales tax, gaming, it's all regressive. It's going to be, it's a very small percentage that is going to come from the wealthy, from those, and the rest of it's going to come from people spending, if it's gaming, they're going to be spending half their paycheck to build a stadium. And that's unacceptable, the social impacts of that. And I don't know why we keep going back to that every single year. When you put that much resources into solving a problem, and if we could do that to housing or education, or it just seems to me a waste of time to do that. I mean, I really want to keep the Vikings here. I mean, when we were at the convention, the question came out. My grandsons were there; they're 9 and 7, and they said the Vikings stay, and also they were cheering, "Go Vikings!" There, and so I get it at home. And so I just have, I don't know how you explain to a 9-year-old that the Vikings might go away, but I'd rather be a part of the solution. I'm not opposed to private public partnerships per se, but they have to make sense. There has to be a clear public benefit.
All right, so we're going to turn over and let the candidates give a statement. I've been asked to make an announcement, but I'm not sure what it is, about the Day on the Hill, but I know there's several days on the Hill. Was there a particular day on the Hill, Ms. Wilson, you wanted me to...
The Day on the Hill is coming up soon.
For what issue? Senator?
That's when you can go and meet your senators and representatives, all your political people over there at the Capitol.
Is there a meet and greet?
So I would say that there's a lot of them, so just watch them. So there's AARP, and then there's, out front has a Day on the Hill, a disability community, African American arts. So I think that there are just a lot of those days on the Hill, and as they kind of come up in my newsletter, I'll make sure that you guys kind of know which one, which days are coming up and which issue our constituency is having.
I'd like to encourage people to come to the Capitol every day, too. You can always go. You can always go and meet with your representative, your senator, or even somebody else's representative and senator if you can.
All right, so we're going to turn it over to the candidates. And just one second, I just want to say thank you again to everyone for taking your time to be here. And I didn't get a chance yet to thank Turtlebread for hosting this and providing some classes. And again, I apologize if we didn't get a chance to ask your question. There also were maybe a couple I couldn't quite read the handwriting, so my apologies. And who answered last? It was Susan. And so Nathan, you want to go first?
Absolutely.
All right.
Again, thank you all so much for coming out to hear us speak this morning. I'm running because I want to make the world a better place. I'm running because I have a really hard time sitting still. I have a hard time sitting still when there is so much work to do. And there's work out there that I know I can do and I want to do to make our state, our country, and our world a better place. I'm running because at the event thanking Senator Linda Berglund for her 4 decades of championing the work of this community. Mayor Sharon Sales Belton asked Linda, what advice would you give a young person going into politics? And you know what she said? Do it. She said, do it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Whatever the results of this race, I'm going to work my entire life to make the world a better place for all people. We need to address these huge issues facing our community: lack of health care, a struggling economy, underfunding our public schools, racial disparities, welcoming all immigrants. I have a vision to make that happen. I'm excited to make that happen. And the way that we're going to make that happen is respect. We're going to work with other people, not just in South Minneapolis, not just in all of Minneapolis, not just in the metro area, not just in greater Minnesota, not just in the United States. We need to work with people all over the world because we are all in this together. We are facing serious issues of climate change worldwide. We are facing serious issues of our economic system spinning out of control worldwide. We need to address these issues and we need to work together to solve them. We all know that in the Declaration of Independence it says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, that's the language that they used in those days, are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But we often forget the next part. The next part says that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. It is our role as citizens. It is our role as government to treat all people with respect, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their sexual orientation, their income, their language, their faith, their gender, their age, whether or not they vote. I have the energy, the work ethic, and the leadership skills to take the many beautiful voices, opinions, and talents of this community and make them an effective voice for change at the state capitol in St. Paul. This race is about a vision. It's about a vision for a better Minnesota. Susan and I share that vision. It's an honor to be in a race with such another wonderful qualified candidate, and I hope that our efforts will make us both better representatives of this community and will make more people want to be involved in politics rather than less. Again, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time out of your days to come listen to us. Please tell your friends, families, neighbors about the election on January 10th so that people go vote. And I'm asking for your vote so that I can have 10 months. So that I can have 10 months to do a heck of a good job and exceed beyond anybody's wildest expectations what's possible from your state representative. Because in 10 months, if I don't do that, as an independent candidate on the ballot in 2012, on a DFL ticket led by President Obama, there is no way that I will win again. I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for 10 months. Please vote for me, Nathan Blumenshine, January 10th. Thank you very much.
People often ask, why are you running? Why do you step up? Why did you step up at this time? And I talk about that it's about opportunity. That when the opportunity came up and I was there and I heard that, it felt right. It felt that I would be able to continue doing what I was already doing. And it's about leadership, stepping up and being a leader. And I think I want to be able to honor those that have led before me, that those that have sacrificed and worked their entire lives so that I could have an education, so that I could help raise my family, and so that I could then turn around and help others. And I'm somebody that leads by example, and Chlorstein is a good example of that. I mean, she has been in this community, she helped build this community, and when there's an issue, Chlorstein packs her lunch and goes to the Capitol, and she sits there, and she makes sure that things get done. And that is an example of, that's leading by example. And when we participate in institutions, we change them. At first, there's going to be resistance. People in power, they don't want to change. But if enough of us participate, if enough of us are vocal, starting with Occupy Minnesota to rallying for workers' rights, or starting to vote, imagine how powerful that would be if the minority communities started voting. I mean, then you could implement this great progressive movement that we have in Minnesota. It's just waiting there to be implemented, to be mobilized, and we need to make that happen. And I really believe that it's about leading by example. I'm somebody that I put together an amazing campaign team. I did that because I had a vision, and because I worked hard to learn this. This is a new arena. I worked hard. I worked harder than anybody on the campaign team. And I did that because I believed in it first. And when you believe in something really strongly and people see that, they're more likely to have the courage to step up and do the same. So that's what I'm getting rambling here a little bit. I'm an attorney, so I want to start at point A and end up over here 500 words later, but that's not what it's about here. It's just about telling you who I am, what I've done, and what I want to do. And I hope I've done that tonight. And I hope you'll take a look at the literature and talk to people and find out more about me. So I thank you for coming. I thank you for hosting this event, and I look forward to getting to know all of you better. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's 9 o'clock, and have a great day.
Thanks. Please stick around. I would love to talk to you.